One of the first questions I receive about First Place for Health is, what do I get to eat? I am so excited to share with you about the First Place for Health food plan. Before we get into the plan itself, I want to talk about what the plan is not. As a registered dietitian, much of my education and training has involved learning how to understand and interpret research in the field of nutrition. We were taught how to recognize credible, trustworthy sources of information versus the ever-popular fad and crash diets that come and go like the Arkansas tornadoes where I live. Many of these diets are harmful, leaving damage to deal with, just like those storms. These trendy diets can leave you disappointed because the weight often comes right back when you go back to regular eating, right? The very word diet implies a beginning and an ending, doesn't it? Many of these diets restrict certain foods or even entire food groups so that your body doesn't get the nutrients it needs to function like God designed it to, leaving cell damage throughout your body. Other diets restrict calories, which are basically just units of energy, so low that changes called metabolic shifts occur. Our loving God has designed our bodies to withstand all types of situations and challenges if the need arises. So, if we restrict our calories to a very low level, such as anything less than 1,000 over a period of days or weeks, our bodies determine that we are in a famine of sorts and reduce our rate of burning calories to conserve energy. Therefore, when we stop the diet, our body now has a new, lower rate of burning calories. So we gain the weight back quickly and often more weight than we lost because of this metabolic shift. This is often compounded by the fact that many diets never address the importance of exercise at all. So you end up losing muscle, the major calorie-burning tissue in your body, along with some of the fat that you wanted to lose. I want to assure you in my role as a health professional that the First Place for Health food plan is not a crash or fad diet. In fact, it isn't a diet at all. It is a healthy eating plan you can live with the rest of your life, which is the reason we call it the Live It Plan. Believe me, before I started my First Place for Health group back in 1995, I truly wanted to discredit the whole program by finding a faulty food plan. You see, I didn't want to believe that God really cared about my eating and exercise habits. I was an overweight dietitian who wasn't practicing what she preached to her patients, and I was struggling because I thought I could control the problem on my own, or at least should be able to. I was a dietitian, after all, but I had a sinful pride to go along with it. After analyzing the food plan carefully, I had to grudgingly admit that it was a safe and healthy one. So I started my first group, and God showed me that He truly did care about that area of my life because it affected every other area, including the spiritual aspect. He showed me that I needed to give every part of my life to Him, that I needed His strength to make healthy choices on a consistent basis, and that I could actually worship my Lord with the food choices I made. One of my life Bible verses has become 1 Corinthians 10:31. So whether you eat or drink or whatever you do it all for the glory of God. I plan to lead First Place for Health groups for the rest of my life as long as God allows it, because I have seen so many lives changed forever through the First Place for Health ministry. The First Place for Health food plan is based on USDA's Dietary Guidelines for Americans and the Choose My Plate nutrition plan. These national guidelines are reviewed every 5 years to ensure they are up to date with current research in the field of nutrition. They are based on literally thousands of studies with plenty of evidence to prove that they work. Take a look at the Live It Food Plan section of My Place for Nutrition. You will see that foods are divided into 6 food groups: fruits, vegetables, grains, protein, dairy, and fats. Research has shown that getting foods from each of these groups every day is vital to meet the basic nutritional needs in our bodies. We have taken it one step further with the food group listings in the Live It to show you which foods provide the highest quality nutrition in each food group. The best items, or the most beneficial ones, are shown in the superfood section. Average items are in the everyday food section, and the foods with the fewest benefits and potential detriments, are in a section called Caution Foods. These divisions are, again, based on the latest and most credible nutrition research. The emphasis in the superfood section is whole foods, as close as possible to the way God made them. And since you will be getting the proper nutrition through your food in the manner that God planned for us to do, you will most likely not require a bunch of expensive nutrition supplements. Be sure to consult with your healthcare provider before determining if any supplements at all are necessary for you. Even though we have labeled some foods as caution foods on the plan, I do want to mention that there are no evil or taboo foods. A reasonable amount of any food can fit into an overall healthy eating plan. Food is just food. It's not sinful. People can be sinful by putting food up on an altar and giving it a place in our lives that nothing and no one deserves except our holy God. As Vicki Heath, our national director, has reminded us, food is for fuel, not worship. Each calorie level in the Live It plan tells us how much to eat from each of these food groups each day to help control the amount of energy that we consume. To lose weight, we must burn off more energy than we consume. So quantities are very important. In our culture, supersized portions have become the norm, and we have to get back to what we actually need. To do that, there are a few simple tools you'll need to have on hand: a set of measuring cups, a set of measuring spoons, and an inexpensive food scale. Foods should be measured in their edible state. For instance, the weight on meat is for after it's cooked, since much weight is lost in the cooking process. Pasta and hot cereals should be measured after cooking as well. Again, just remember, you measure it how you would eat it. You will note in the food group list that the measurement for each food is provided, along with how it counts on the food plan, plus the calories for that item. Don't worry, you will not need to memorize the calories in every item, but that information is provided to help you with making the best choices. For instance, you will not want to choose all starchy vegetables each day because the calories contained in those is about 4 times of that of a non-starchy vegetable. You will also note that some items count differently than the actual measurement listed. For instance, it takes 2 cups of raw leafy greens, such as lettuce or spinach, to equal 1 cup of vegetables for the plan. For dried fruit, it's the reverse. Since the water has been removed, a 1/4 cup serving of dried fruit will count as 1/2 cup of fruit. Other than things like this, fruits and vegetables pretty much count cup for cup if they are cut up and ready to eat. All of this is explained in the food group sections of My Place for Nutrition, so you don't have to remember it today. Also, in each of the First Place for Health Bible studies, you will find 2 weeks' worth of Jumpstart menus to help you get going in the program. Please don't get stressed out over the food plan. You will learn it over time and adapt it to meet your needs. Give yourself time to learn this stuff. Remember, good physical health is a lifelong journey, not a destination. For now, let's look at one of the sample calorie level plans, the 13 to 1400 calorie one. This is the level that most women with less than 50 pounds to lose will most likely need to follow to be successful. This plan allows for 1 1/2 cups fruit, 1 1/2 cups vegetable, 5 ounces of grain, 4 ounces of protein, 2 to 3 cups of dairy, and 4 teaspoons of fat. Just to give you an idea of what this would look like in a day, let's talk about a few sample menus. For breakfast, you could have something like 1/2 cup of oatmeal, 1/4 cup of blueberries, a tablespoon of walnuts, a boiled egg, and a cup of milk. For lunch, you could have a turkey and cheese sandwich on some whole grain bread with some baby carrots, about 6 of them would be 1/2 cup, and maybe an apple to go with that for lunch. Then for supper, you could have some type of roasted or grilled or broiled chicken breast, along with some brown rice and some broccoli, fixed any way that you would desire. Roasted is great. Steamed would be good. But then there also is room for some snacks when you follow the First Place for Health food plan. In fact, we promote that because it does help prevent hunger. So an awesome snack would be something like a half a cup of yogurt and some strawberries, or maybe a few whole grain crackers. One of the most awesome things about the First Place for Health food plan is that it is so flexible. With so many options in each food group, if you wish to choose a vegetarian style of eating, you just choose the non-meat sources of protein in the protein group. If you decide that gluten-free eating is for you, just choose gluten-free whole grains in the grain group. If milk products are a problem for you, there are some non-dairy alternatives to meeting your calcium needs listed in the dairy group. The First Place for Health food plan can be personalized for you, which makes it possible to sustain this healthy style of eating for a lifetime. It reminds me of the old-fashioned paper dolls I played with as a child. The doll itself represents our body and our calorie level, but all of the paper outfits, like the foods within each food group, can be changed out on our desires for that particular day or occasion. Because we have this marvelous freedom to choose, just like our freedom in Christ, we should give careful thought to every action in our lives. There is a Bible verse about this that I love. Everything is permissible for me, but not all things are beneficial. Everything is permissible for me, but I will not be enslaved by anything and brought under its power, allowing it to control me. That's taken from 1 Corinthians 6:12 in the Amplified Bible. I can choose the fried foods or chocolate fudge cake if I wish, but I must realize that those are not the most beneficial for me on a consistent basis. And I need to remember that those foods have no real power over me. They are just foods, because Jesus is the boss of me. Many of you may be thinking, I'm not sure I'm ready for this. Not yet. Recently, our bivocational church youth minister, who is also a lieutenant at our local fire department, was preaching a sermon in our pastor's absence. He was sharing about how he kept telling God, not yet, in regard to his calling and the blessings he had missed out on during that not yet time. He used an example of when he was training his coworkers about some new harness equipment and how excited they were all about it in the classroom. It was going to be terrific. The new harness would hold up to 9,000 pounds in addition to their own body weight and gear. Later, they went to a tower site to test it out. They hesitated before jumping down, and our pastor reminded them how many pounds it would hold, how safe it was, and how they couldn't hesitate to act on what they knew to be true. People's lives depended on it. It may sound overdramatic, but lives truly are depending on your beginning this new health journey. Yours, for one. Obesity is associated with virtually all of the major medical conditions in our world. Heart disease, diabetes, cancer, and the list goes on. But not only your life is affected. As a child nutrition director for a public school district of over 4,000 children for almost 25 years, I have witnessed firsthand the increase in childhood obesity over that time and the resulting increase in type 2 diabetes and other obesity-related illnesses, even in early elementary school. Your family will learn from your example. The next generation will learn from your example. You can do this with God's help. Remember, permanent change requires perseverance and patience. One of my favorite First Place for Health Bible verses is, "Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up." I am so thrilled to have had the privilege of writing My Place for Nutrition to share my story and this program with you. May God bless you richly as you give Him first place in this area of your life. I can't wait to hear your stories of success.